In this video, we're going to think inside the box, more specifically inside this box that Comgrow sent me. It contains an enclosure for their Z1 series laser machine, and it also fits the XTool D1 series laser machine as well. Stay tuned to find out more. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Greg, and today's video we're going to review and unbox this Comgrow laser enclosure and see how well it works on a typical project. Stay tuned for that. And in full disclosure, because this was sent from me from Comgrow, this is a sponsored video. And speaking of that, they did send me some more goodies to test out, so I have those right here. They sent a 10-watt Z1 machine, a honeycomb to go with that, and the rotary attachment to go with that. So in future videos, I'll be going through all of this, setting it up, showing you everything you need to know to assemble, get it initialized, and actually do your first project on it. That's why it's important to like, subscribe to these videos to make sure that you see this content right away when it's available. With this covered, let's move into the unboxing of the enclosure. This package was shipped from Comgrow out of New Jersey to my shop here in central Wisconsin. It took about 1 week with the delivery service actually handing off the final package delivery through the local mail carrier service. This isn't an instruction by Comgrow, just more of the logistics of me living way out in the middle of nowhere. The package arrived with a few dents in the corner, so it'll be interesting to see how this looks on the inside. So with that covered, let's go ahead, and I do see that on the front of the package on the top where you'd normally open it, they do have a warning about using a knife and cutting deeply into the package. So I'm going to start with a pair of safety scissors that I have. What works really well is on delicate packages like this is I just like to snip the edge of the tape, and then the rest of that usually just kind of zips along that tape. We'll do the same thing on the other side, just cut the tape a little bit and the rest of it usually pops right open. We'll do the same thing on the top. And this is the first time I'm opening the package, so we're both seeing this at the same time. I'm greeted on the top by a set of, looks like cotton gloves or safety gloves. A set of instructions, and it looks fairly simple. And now on to, here's the cover. And all of the assembly pieces neatly stacked on the inside. So again, a few minimal dents on the outside of the package during shipping, but all of the components inside are very durable and they're very lightweight. I'll go ahead and cut open the bag with all of the frame tubes. And anytime I open a package like this, I always like to lay out all of the pieces and do a quick count to make sure all the pieces and parts are actually in the kit like they should be. On the sheet, there's a box that says what's included in the contents of this box. And I have the guide page that I have in my hand, a set of gloves, a fire-resistant cover, which we'll be testing that out later on in the video, that you should be able to take a blowtorch to this and it should be able to resist flaming up, so we'll check that out. Next on it is the extension tubes, and the parts list, it is labeled what parts are which, so it's very clear for me to see that these are the extension tubes, and I should have 7 of those, so I can count those out. Yep, I do have 7 of those. So I have 4 of these, 4 of these, 2 of the smaller pieces, and the vent tube kit. So it looks like we have all of the parts. Let's get started. And another neat thing that I like to do is when I have extra bags and things that I no longer need, rather than throw them out right away, I like to place them in the box. Sometimes there's a rogue screw or a little piece of something in the kit that's needed that I didn't catch, and I always like to just keep all the parts in empty bags together until I'm completely done and I know everything's working correctly. On the tubes, I'm finding one end is kind of rolled over so that it is not sharp. The other end is fully open, and that is where these parts fit together. And it is a nice snug fit that when it's together, does not rattle around and it does not flex. I like that. In the next bag, I have all of the corner pieces, and it looks like they are all the same. Again, I like to lay out all the pieces. And it does look like two ends of this part are the same, and the third leg has a little taper to it, a little step. Again, I'll take that empty bag off to the side along with any other pieces and parts. And evidently, the parts that were grouped together with the rubber band, they do have a little sticker on them, H for the height or an L for the width of it, which makes identifying these parts in the kit very easy. And looking at the picture, I can see this tab that's different on the connecting piece. Those always face towards like the center of the box, if you will. So if I've got the outside corners, these will always face up, and on the top side they will face down. So I'll take our height piece and simply install that. And on the top, that tapered piece will face down. This just might be one of the fastest assembly kits I have ever done in my lifetime. Here, I think I'll put the straight bar in the back. That way, as I'm assembling this, the open end will be facing towards you. And push all of these in. You'll feel it seats very snugly. When it's inserted all the way into the corner piece, you'll feel this nice, confident thunk that it's fully seated and it will not come apart during a project. And I can already see for such a small box that this arrived in, it makes a very large enclosure. And if you recall to the beginning part of the video where I'll be setting up and testing a number of other components from Comgrow, they sent those all in a box that they had once used before. I was going to show the box, but it was beat up a little bit just because it looked like it had been reused several times, and some people may not like that. For myself, environmentally conscious of products that I use, I do like that when I see companies reusing things that are still fully functional and able to save time, money, and resources. And one last long bar in the front. And then these two small pieces are where the opening and access to the work area will be. And I think this is the hardest part of the whole project, was just identifying the different lengths of the tubes to put all of this together. And I think that took just a matter of minutes. For the top cover, we'll just kind of shake all this out so that it is as open as it can be. And for a material being fire resistant or fire retardant, I'm sure there's a difference between it. There's really no smell coming off of this. That's the other concern I kind of had with some of these, is some fire retardant materials or these textiles that are coated. Sometimes they'll have a very strong smell, and I'll almost have to open the package up and then just let it breathe out for a day or two, just because the fumes coming off of it are so strong. But that is not the case here. There's absolutely zero odor coming from this. You might have saw me make a funny face as I was putting the cover over the corners. It's just because it's not tight, but it's snug. And that went on very clearly. That went on very easily. I was thinking clearly because this has a cover that you can actually view the laser while it's running, and it is a laser safe cover, which means that while the machine is running, if you want to see what it's doing, I don't have to put the goggles on. And the case that I had built, the enclosure that you saw at the beginning of the video, that has no window on it. I purchased one to go with it, but it was just simply clear acrylic, and I decided just not to put it on. So this would be a nice addition to have on my enclosure, something I can actually see what's going on while the project is running. I'm going to change the viewpoint of that. We have just the exhaust port to put on. The port, a flange that will bolt together, and then a little bag of screws, and 2 plastic end caps. Let's find out where these plastic end caps go. And the second large image on the instruction guide is cover the edges with the caps, which are in the front. So that fits on very nicely. Again, overall so far, I'm very impressed with the fit and finish of this unit. And the screwdriver that I'll be using is a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. That's the one with the pointy tip. So this part is the part that we'll be clamping our hose on from the outside. So that will poke through like such and make sure that the holes line up in the side of the case. And the same thing with the flange. And the flange is cut out of a plastic that has this nice protective paper still on it. So when I remove that, I have this nice shiny black plastic that goes very nicely with the case. So the easiest way that I found over the years to get 3 different things to line up is simply place the screw all the way through on the first part, and then go ahead and push that screw through the second item. In this case, it's going to be the case here. Once I have that through, now I can push the exhaust duct through. I'm going to need to rotate this so that I can see. And there, now I have the screw poked all the way through all 3 materials. And there is a nut that goes on the other side of the screw. And I just have that nut on by a couple of threads. I'll tighten that up once I have all of the other screws in place. If I tighten that nut up right now, it's very hard to allow the different items to shift around for proper alignment. And that popped right into place. And actually right now I don't even need the screwdriver. I can just hold the screw by hand and get a couple of the threads started on the nut with my other free hand. And previous to going into photography and kind of the laser industry, I did work in assembly and research and development. So I worked on assembling many things over the years. So I have a pretty good dexterity over manipulating tools and different things that can be difficult without needing a third arm. But if you find that you're struggling with this, it might be nice to have a second person just to kind of spot things, or simply just hold the part for you to be that third arm or that helping hand. And all of these screws, I'm just snugging them up just a little bit. They don't need to be super tight. And around on the bottom, there's these 2 Velcro tabs to securely fasten the enclosure down to the base. This is a nice little feature that they've added onto the case. They did not have to do this, but I think the relevance of this is when you go to move the case, the enclosure, that you won't accidentally pick up this outer plastic type of material off of the frame and then have to go through reinserting it. And we're complete. Let's go ahead and grab the XTool D1 laser that I already have set up, and we'll go ahead and place that inside of here, or more likely we'll place this on top of that. And for those who are wondering how important it is to actually evacuate all of the smoke and exhaust out of your enclosure to outside, here's the exhaust fan that I've been using in my shop, and you can see that there's all kinds of dust and debris that has come off of my workpieces, and this is some fairly large dust that I would not want to breathe in. And we'll actually take a look around the side, and I have some of that painter's tape around there, and that's because this top piece will rotate a little bit and then remove, and so there is a slight air gap. And when I'm doing different materials like wood and especially acrylic, I can smell those fumes coming through that small seam that goes around the unit, and that is why I have the tape there. So very important, both health-wise and cleanly-wise, to evacuate all the smoke from your work area. I have my XTool back on my workspace table with all of the power and air assist lines connected back up. And before I put all of this over here, I like to move the laser head at the furthest point and then move it to the closest point and make sure that everything moves freely before placing the enclosure on top. Now comes the really fun part. I thought the enclosure went together very quickly and easily, but placing the enclosure on the laser machine is even faster and quicker. Let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to hook this side down to make sure that I clear the cables and just simply slide that over so the case is now securely over the machine. And the last step that I need to do is connect my exhaust hose up to this port. And the really neat thing about this port is that it does have a taper, so the hose just fits on there and it just slowly gets tight and it just stays in place. I'll connect the hose up to my evacuation fan in the back here. And as easy as that, we're all set to create a project on our machine and make sure that all the smoke stays inside of the box, coming out of the exhaust tubes, vented outside. And I'll connect. I'll open up my project. I'll zoom in, and this is what we're going to make. So I have the first layer is going to do the engraving. It's going to engrave and then trace the outside of all the letterings and the Comgrow logo. And then in the lime green, that will actually be the cutout. So I'll turn on the air assist. For this, because I'm cutting, I'm going to turn the air assist on at full speed. And of course, the air assist kit that I have installed is the Comgrow variable speed air pump motor. Comes with all the pieces and parts to install on the Comgrow Z1 series machine and the XTool D1 series machine. With the cover open, I'm going to go ahead and frame the work to make sure that it doesn't collide with anything. Actually, I'm going to adjust the laser a little bit closer to the edge so that I don't waste any material. And we'll actually offset it to this side. I like the way that looks. I'll go ahead and zip the cover down. I do some camping every once in a while, and there's tents that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and the zippers are not as nice as the ones on here. Some beautiful zippers that they have on here that you can manipulate with just one hand. We're all set. We'll go ahead and start. While this is running, I do not see or smell any of the smoke from the wood engraving coming out of the enclosure. I know on the camera it may look like there's smoke inside of there. It's more of the reflection of the laser inside that the camera is picking up. project is complete. I'm pretty excited to take a look and see how this all turned out. And before I start moving anything in here, I always like to take something and pry up that work to make sure I had a nice clean cut. If I didn't, I can always go back and turn off the engraving step in Lightburn and just run another pass. But this cut very cleanly. Here, we'll turn autofocus back on and get a nice close-up. There we go. So nice clean lines both on the engraving and the cutout. This material is about 1/10 of an inch thick. Here's a quick fly around on the enclosure itself. Very roomy inside, covering what it needs to cover. And there's plenty of height space for when we put that leg extensions on if we're doing some taller work. This video was a lot of fun making. I can't believe how easily this enclosure went together. Usually when I open something up and there's all these pipes and these sticks that you have to fit together, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But as you saw, I did this right from opening the box to showing you how all of that went together, and it really is straightforward on how all the parts fit together. And the fit and finish of all the parts here, it just functions. It works really well, and I have nothing to complain about. So I would have no problems at all recommending this product to anybody that has a Comgrow Z1 series laser machine or the XTool D1. You can also go on the website by looking at the description down below and clicking on the link that I have for you. And I believe that this fits a number of other machines like the tabletop laser that are currently on the market. So this is a really great alternative to building a homemade one like I saw at the beginning of the video. I thought I would put that up here and show them side by side, but actually I like this one so much. It's so light and easy to move around. My other one, it weighs about 30-40 pounds, and if the cover flips open while I'm carrying it, usually something breaks on it. So I may not actually use the one that I built that cost actually more than this unit did. If you find this content useful, please leave a like, a comment down below, or subscribe to the channel. Doing all of those things or any number of those things helps this channel grow, and in return, it helps connect content like this with great viewers like you. Until next time, oh, wait. I knew that we were going to talk about taking the blowtorch to this because they did say that it was flame resistant on the inside. So actually, let's go ahead and do that right now. From my understanding, the inside of this is the flame resistant material. This area where the flame is, that is still quite a bit warm, but it didn't discolor or burn anything on the inside where we want to contain any flame out from here. Again, a good way to reduce or eliminate anything that might flame up is running the air assist kit on your machine. The Comgrow laser machine enclosure, I like it, I recommend it, I think everybody should have one. Until next time, have fun, be safe, and be creative.